Welcome to Tommyfield Live, a chance to meet. Let's join the audience now, live from our radio theatre stage. Hello again, welcome to Tommyfield Live. It's Ian Wolstenholme here in the hot seat. Wonderful to be joined by our guest on the radio theatre stage today. And our guest is James O'Connor.
Yes, thank you very much.
Nice to see you, James. James, you're from a company called Think Inks.
We are.
Think Inks. Now, a very catchy name. Think Inks. What's it all about?
That's a good question.
That's a big question to start. I'll sit back and you impart the knowledge.
I think what we're trying to do is ask people to actually think about their inks and particularly what they do with them after they've used them, because a lot of people today who use printers at home use small inkjet cartridges and actually have a question about what they should do with them after they're finished, and many unfortunately end up in the bin, which then ends up in landfill and other ways of disposal. Yeah. Whereas we've set up a company that can recycle those, which is not only beneficial for the environment, it also helps raise money for charities and other organisations.
So whereabouts, I'm guessing that Think Inks is, we might touch on this a little later, is part of a larger company, but locally, whereabouts can people find you in Oldham? So
we're just up near Durka, so in between Durka and Mumps, we're in Adelaide Mill, which is on Gould Street, and up there we've got 3 floors of a mill, so we operate over 30,000 square foot, and what we do there is obviously collect and bring in all of these used printer cartridges, and we're able to recycle for reuse those cartridges there.
So I know that our cameras can't see today, but I hope we will hear them because they'll be cheering and throwing tomatoes and things like that at the boss, because you are the owner of the company. You're supported by some of your team here. It's lovely to see them. Thank you very much for coming along, guys. How many work at Think Inks in Oldham, James?
So in the company in total, we've got 20 people that we employ, but in the Think Inks team, I call them the Super Six. So we've got 6 key people that help run our Think Inks team, right from Ashley, who heads up as the manager of the division. Across the team, we've got Kieran, Angie, Luke, who processes the inks, and then we've got the other Kieran and Darren, who run the warehouse operations and things like that. So we cover everything from graphics design, web design, customer experience, customer service, business development, everything to make this work. And like I say, as a team, we all come together to make this a success.
People can kind of just drop into the business. Is that sort of encouraged?
We're a warehouse operation. So what we encourage is that people sign up to our Think Inks scheme, and really it's very, very simple. They go onto our website, they request a box, which we have a fantastic prop here for people to
No, it's a real one. It's got things in it already. We've got some ink cartridges in there, which will.
There's inks already. Fantastic. So we encourage people to take one of these boxes, or we send those boxes out to people. They can put them wherever they like, in schools, offices, any sort of place where people congregate or people go. And that box is designed for people to be able to drop their used inks in, and then when that box is full, we'll come along and collect that, and then we'll give some money to the organisation or the charity that box is for. We do have a drop box at our offices, but what we encourage people to do is go online, thinkinks.uk, check out our website, request a box. We'll send the box out free of charge. They can put that box, like I say, wherever they like, fill it with used ink cartridges, which would otherwise go into the bin. We'll collect it and give them some money.
We'll talk more about the value and the environmental benefits and things like that as we go through the next hour, James. Music is an all-important part of this programme, and I know that very, very cleverly and collaboratively you went across the team and said, right, what's your favourite? What's your favourite? And I know you've said, don't ask you about the rationale behind that, so I won't do. The first piece that you've asked for is from Dermot Kennedy, Better Days. Do you know who chose that?
I've got a feeling I know who chose this one. I think that'll be Kieran O'Toole, I think. Was it? No? Oh, was it Darren? It was Darren. This was actually a tribute to his wife. He said she would love it if we were able to play this on the radio. So.
There we go, Dermot Kennedy, Better Days. That's the first choice of the team from Thinkinks today, who's owner, boss. What do people call you? Various names, having been a boss in the past.
I wouldn't like to repeat too many, but no, I'll go with James for now.
James is good. James O'Connor's with us. Right, James, so let me read this because I want to be very specific. Estimates say that there are around 45 million inkjet cartridges used each year in the UK alone, and yet only 5% of them are recycled. I thought we were getting better at this recycling malarkey.
I think that's right. I think that's the worrying thing. We are definitely getting better, but there is a long way to go. And I think when there is a real focus on particular products like plastic and bottles and so on, there's a lot of media coverage about what we should do with those and how to dispose of those. But when it comes to specialist products, particular electrical waste or in the case of printer cartridges, people are not sure. And actually, as you speak to people, you find people say, I've got a few of those lying around because I don't really want to put them in the bin, but I'm not quite sure what else I can do with them. And that's basically the challenge. Because these are so small, the small little ink cartridges that people use in their home printers, they can just end up being left lying around, and eventually, because there isn't anything else known what to do, they end up in the bin.
I'm guessing there must be a gazillion printers around in Oldham even as we speak now, and people sort of almost treat these empty used cartridges almost like a hand grenade and go, what do I do with it, and open the brown bin and throw it in. But that's not necessarily, and they think, I've done the recycling bit, but what happens to them thereafter? That's
it. Usually, if they're not, it's like any waste. If it's not put through the right channel, it will just end up in landfill, and that's the concern. And yet these cartridges have got far more reuse left in them. Far more life left in them to be reused. So if they are recycled the right way, they can be reused. And some people, I think, get confused as well because sometimes there's a little envelope in the pack that they can send that ink cartridge back to the manufacturer, which of course would help with the recycling. But by sending them to us, we're able to give money for those ink cartridges. We can raise money as well. So instead of lining the pockets of the manufacturers by sending the cartridges back to them, if they send them back to us, we can still recycle them but give money to an organisation or a charity for that. The worry is that otherwise it would just end up in landfill, and we've prevented around 7 to 8 tons of plastic in the last 12 months going into landfill by being able to recycle those.
And it's, of course, the makeup of these things, they're not all plastic, because there's doing the research, the print head, which has got like the copper bits and things like that. So they're like an amalgam of everything, really, aren't they?
That's it. And if you think that if that was to end up in the normal waste channels, it can't be treated properly. It's just got to get lumped together with everything else because it can't be separated and dismantled and treated properly. So that's the benefit of using a specialist company like ours, who can break that down. We extract all of the different materials, the copper, the metal, the plastic, even the ink that's inside, that's left. We can separate all that out to recycle back to raw materials. That's our less preferred. Our most preferred is being able to actually reuse the cartridge itself, so they can be refilled with ink and reused, reset to reuse.
I've got to ask you this because it always reminds me of my effort one time, which was a dismal failure, it must be said. These cartridges that you can supposedly refill with these syringe inks, I mean, I've still got the stains on my hands even like 5 years later, kind of thing. I mean, your face says it all, James.
That's it. I think we've moved away from the DIY kind of element of everything. I think that's whether it's a generational thing or whatever. There are still plenty of shops out there where you can get your inks refilled, and of course that is a great environmental solution for reuse as well. We're effectively doing the same thing, but we're the middleman. We're able to take those empty ink cartridges on a very large scale. We can put those through the factories that do the refilling. Not quite with the syringes and the ink, as you say. There's a little bit more technical machines involved, but those inks essentially do get refilled with ink and then can be reused.
So do yourselves a favour, everybody. Don't do what I did, or at least if you do, put some latex gloves on. Oh no, latex allergies. That's another story. Anyway, no, don't forget the syringe thing. What about there's often this confusion with original cartridges that people sort of go, oh, my cartridge is empty, I'll buy a new one. So they buy the original. What does the OEM stand for? I never know that.
Original equipment manufacturer.
Okay, right.
So if HP or Canon or Epson, one of the major brands, they make the original cartridge. That was first made by those, but they heavily patent those cartridges, so nobody else can replicate that and copy that. Right. So if somebody wants to sell that under their own brand, they have to get the empty cartridge first from an original brand and be able to then refill it. So if you go to a supermarket or a retailer and want to buy a private branded cartridge that may be a slightly lower price, the chances are that was an original cartridge in the first place and it's now been refilled and rebranded for reuse.
And from thinking's point of view, it's preferable to have, or does it make any difference whether it's an original or a
these days the machines and the technology is very good to be able to make the reuse of the cartridge just as good a quality as the original. So to a degree, of course the first use cartridge for refill is always going to be the best. Once it gets refilled the second time, the third time and the fourth time, of course eventually the quality is going to go. So we prefer the original HP or Canon printer cartridge, but we'll recycle all printer cartridges. If we can avoid them going to landfill, that's our first priority. Right. And then of course if we're able to reuse them, then that's a benefit too.
We'll come on to that in a minute and the money that can be made. We'll have another piece of music. Here's our lovely Anne Meredith here. She is. She's still lurking at the back. She told me about 3 hours ago, I'm going now. And then when I said that our guest has chosen Van Morrison, she said, oh, I'll stay for a bit longer then, because she's met him, apparently, in some dim and distant life. Brown-Eyed Girl, do you know who selected this one?
I know who selected this one. That will definitely be Kieran Craig.
Right, here we go, Van Morrison it is. Welcome back to Tommyfield Live this Saturday afternoon, and it's Ian Wolstenholme in the company of James O'Connor from Thinkings, who's our special guest on the Radio Theatre stage. Are you enjoying the experience so far, James? Is it
live on stage?
Is it really what you thought?
Absolutely. We've got the backdrop.
We've got the tinsel curtain.
Absolutely.
Yeah, £2 from eBay. Everybody get one. So Van Morrison, that's definitely pleased the lovely Anne Meredith, who has now gone home. So you work with all kinds of groups and individuals. Here at Oldham Community Radio, for example, one of your great guys, Kieran, came in the other week and said, there's the box, get it filled. Right, now we go, oh, it's an orange coloured box with stuff and leaflets and things. What do we do? So the Idiot's Guide to Oldham Community Radio, working with you.
Brilliant. Yeah, so basically once somebody's requested a box, either through our website or social media, they receive the box and they put that box somewhere where anybody can get to it, anybody can drop their inks in. And then it's all about telling people about the box. The box is here.
The box is the king.
This is where you can drop your inks. All those people that are sat there at home with their ink cartridges in a little pile at the side of the printer that are thinking, what can I do with these ink cartridges? They need to take them to the box, and that's basically it. We encourage organisations, charities, etc. to use social media, any way that they can communicate out to people that they have contact with, to tell them, look, we have a box, we're recycling ink cartridges, and when that box is full, we'll receive money, which will help obviously contribute to whichever cause that that organisation is raising money for. So you have a selection of leaflets and stickers and window posters and things like that, which are there to sort of help guide you in the way of sort of advertising and tell people about the box. But the main thing is put it somewhere where people have got access to, and then just tell people that it's there. We're recycling ink cartridges, drop them in here, and it'll help us raise some money.
So it's literally just a case of that. I mean, we're a prime candidate for this, aren't we? Because we can say every waking minute on Oldham Community Radio, bring in your used cartridges, bring them in now, and it will give us, I mean, the value of that box once it's full, typically.
Once that full, it would easily raise £100.
Wow.
I mean, we've got some boxes that have raised over £300 or £400, some maybe slightly less. It does depend on the type of the ink cartridge it is, and we go through a whole process. Obviously, some of them can be reused better than others, and so on. So all the individual cartridges are valued based on how they're processed. But we aim to give at least £100 for a full box of ink cartridges where we can, and like I say, even more if that's the case.
Fantastic. It's important to say it is ink cartridges, isn't it? So I know we mentioned this off there, that some people now, given the price of the hardware, has sort of tumbled with kind of the laser printers. But those aren't suitable. Well, they won't fit in the hole, I don't think, will they? And that's a clever design thing, is it?
That's definitely the design thing. Our boxes are
the camera, there we go. That's where you put your things in there.
We designed the box to be a little bit bigger than a shoebox, with a smaller hole on the top as possible, so that people knew it was just the ink cartridges. The funny thing is, the first time you start talking to anybody about recycling printer cartridges, the first thing they think about is them big photocopier machines in offices that use these huge toner cartridges that when they empty them, the powder goes everywhere and they get covered in it.
Oh, happy day.
Those things. It's not those cartridges we're talking about. We're literally looking for the very, very small little square ink cartridges that typically used in a colour printer, usually a small desktop inkjet cartridge. We can recycle the other ones, but that's through a different scheme, and it's not through Think Inks. Think Inks is just focused on the small little cartridges.
Super. It's a very visually attractive box, isn't it? That's why you've got a graphics.
That would be down to our graphics designer,
yes,
Kieran.
Yeah, I could tell that. I could tell that. He's taken all the credit for it. Yeah. Kieran's designed that box. And the posters and everything that go with it. I'm guessing, and we'll perhaps touch on this after your next musical choice, James, but the information, the box itself, the information, is very, very sort of kind of youth orientated, if I can put it like that. Yeah, you know, I think or am I being a bit mean there?
No, I think it's spot on, and I'm glad you've picked that up, because I think our target audience will be the youth. We're looking very much to focus on schools and basically youth groups that are able to connect with us. You know, whether it's social media, through the website, etc. Because yes, okay, the children themselves might not necessarily have access to the printers and so on, but their parents do. Exactly. And I think, you know, especially with the pandemic in the last couple of years, more people have got printers at home. And so if we can connect with the youth and encourage them to both be on board with the environmental concept of recycling these, as well as the charitable side of raising money, then we think we can make a real success of this. You know, you get some stories of the very young ones sort of going home and taking the full ones out of the printer before mum and dad know about it. We do get the odd full one in the box.
Oh dear.
And I know they're not cheap to replace, so please make sure they're empty before you do drop them in. Although we will take unwanted, unused cartridges as well, of course.
That's a good point, just to pause while while the parents are busy now scrambling around their inkjet printers looking to see, are they still there? That's why I couldn't print the thing this morning. Cher, Walking in Memphis is the next track. Do you know who? No,
that'll be one of the Kierans.
Okay, all right. Well, it's a great track. All your music choices have been super duper today. So I think we'll have a break and we'll have Cher. Cher, or is it Cher? I never know. I'm Walking in Memphis. Welcome back to Tommyfield Live, a chance to meet, and it is a chance to meet Think Inks. If you've just tuned in, where on earth have you been? Because how have we managed to talk about ink cartridges for 35 minutes so far? I really don't know, but we're doing very well on this, and my guest, James O'Connor from the company, is here on the stage. James, we mentioned before, Cher, about the very attractive and impactful boxes and literature and everything like that. Schools and youth groups, young people, even from like tiny reception kids these days, seem to have phones and access to social media one way or another, however sort of secured and monitored it is.
That's right.
They must be your target audience.
I think that's it. I think we started out with a target audience of anybody who has access to a printer, but then you can expand beyond that because it's anybody who knows somebody who, or, and within the family or friends or whoever who have access to printers. And yeah, absolutely, the youth is far more connected than it ever has been before. And it's a great. There's also a generation where we're far more aware of the environmental impacts. So right the way through from, like you say, reception age children at nursery and at schools are being aware of the sort of their environmental impact. So we've definitely targeted this to appeal to the full spectrum of people, everybody from the sort of youngest of children who are aware of the environmental impacts, right the way through the spectrum of everybody who might use a printer and beyond. And so it's really about getting everybody involved, and that's why we use our social media platforms. I think we're at Think Inks UK on the Facebook and Instagram and all those different platforms to try and connect that community and encourage people to be more aware and recycle their printer cartridges. We know it's not the hot topic that's on everybody's mind and those things, but it is one of those little things that people can do to make a difference.
And thinking of schools and colleges and universities, can we go to higher education, I guess? Is it easy for you guys as a company to deal direct with them, or do you have to go through things like the PTA? I mean, this would be great for something. I remember when I was on like the PTA thing at school or whatever it was back in those halcyon days, we were always scrambling around looking for fundraising things for the school, and it invariably used to be the sports day, the disco and things like that. This is a walk in the park, isn't it? Well,
this is something different. We see this as a new way to fundraise. We're not asking people for money. We're asking, your typical fundraisers is asking for money, yes. Whether it's a sponsor form, whether it's a wear a jumper to school day or whatever it is. We're actually asking people to give us their waste. This would otherwise end up in the bin. So it's a great way for somebody to feel like and know that they're donating towards something by giving up something that actually doesn't mean anything to them. So a great way to give funds. Actually getting into these organisations is tricky, getting schools on board, getting businesses on board. I think that's more down to a little bit of it's sounding a little bit too good to be true. You kind of get to that stage where you're sort of saying to somebody, we'll give you a free box. I want you to fill it with your waste and your ink cartridges that are used that would go in the bin, and when it's full, we'll give you some money for it.
A few quid, yeah.
They kind of go, well, where's the catch? And I think it's just having that ability, I think that time to just explain to somebody, actually, no, this is what we're doing and this is how we do it. By able to reuse and recycle, we can give money. Everybody's familiar with the clothing sort of setup. You can you can donate your old clothes, you weigh them in at a clothes shop or a charity shop, and sometimes you'll get a payment for that for the clothes. It's exactly the same. This is just a different product. But there's just that little bit more skepticism about why and how it can be done. But that's what hopefully we're here to sort of talk about. We want to get these boxes out in the community, in schools and offices and so on, so that people can just drop their inks in and recycle.
You mentioned businesses a second ago. I think I've seen somewhere that they have a duty of responsibility. You can elaborate on that, I guess.
Definitely. I think...
I just wondered because... business, a printer, depending whatever it is, however the cost, it's a used item, and then chuck it away, buy a new one, kind of thing. Is that mentality, or how does it work these days?
I think there's different setups for many organisations, but underlying all of that, we've all got a social responsibility to recycle. I think when you start talking to businesses, they've got a corporate responsibility. Everybody's now, sort of the buzzword is the carbon footprint that everybody's looking to reduce. And so whilst these printers are predominantly in people's homes, I think with the work from home over the last couple of years, companies are actually responsible for people's printers at home. And so by encouraging their staff and colleagues and employees to still recycle, that's helping them certainly improve their carbon footprints by recycling. It also gives them an opportunity to raise funds, whether that's for their own sort of staff Christmas do, or whether they want to raise those funds and give them to a nominated charity that they might support. So we do have a good number of businesses that do take part in it, and like I say, are raising money from recycling.
Fantastic. And those that aren't businesses, do take note. It's an opportunity to do your bit, as they say. This is going. Time is always our enemy. We have so much to cram into the next bit of the programme. Let's have a little bit of a break. Fourth choice is OMD, electricity. The only thing about electricity I'm worrying about is how much it's going to cost me in April. But anyway, who's chosen that?
That's another one of the eclectic...
Sorry to keep putting you on the spot.
Eclectic mix from the team. I have no idea on this one.
Okay, well, let's say all of them then. Here's OMD. Welcome back. Tommyfield Live. Chance to meet, it is, on this Saturday afternoon, live from our radio theatre stage. It's here in Wolstenholme, having a wonderful chat with James O'Connor from Thinkings. Money comes down to the sort of bottom line in any business. You've got to make some money, but more importantly, you've raised a tremendous amount of money by all intentions. Put some figures on that.
We're absolutely very, very proud, to sort of raise money for other charities and organisations. In the years that we've been doing this, we've raised £974,000 as we speak that we've given to those charities and organisations just for the used inks that they've recycled with us. And when people ask you about your job and what you do, you sort of, what gets you out of bed in the morning? Well, we've saved 7.5 tons of plastic from going to landfill, and we've raised, in my opinion, a tremendous amount of money for some fantastic organisations. And those organisations are spread right across the UK, national, right the way from national, huge national charities, hundreds of thousands of pounds for an air ambulance in the northeast, right the way down to very local charities. We do a lot of work with Rochdale Heartbeat. I think we've raised over £600 for those in just a couple of months from boxes that they've been very proactive in collecting and recycling. So I think we've sort of reviewed this over the last few months, and we really want to try and have a focus in the Oldham community. We realised that whilst we were expanding through our social media and trying to hit the UK population of 60 million people, we've actually got a fantastic opportunity in Oldham. There's a great number of businesses, a great number of charities in Oldham that are looking for fundraising, and actually we want to reach out to those and offer them our sort of innovative new way of raising funds. So over the next couple of months, we're going to launch a few different campaigns that links in with some of the sort of Oldham charities. So certainly look out for our boxes appearing in different buildings, different places. We're hoping to get on board shops and other venues in the Oldham community that can take these boxes on. We're raising money particularly for the Oldham Mayor's charity appeal, which supports 8 fantastic local community charities. But anybody can get involved if they want to raise funds for their own charities, as well as raising money for others. They can do. Anybody can get involved. Anybody can request a box, like I say, free of charge. Put that box in their shop, in their business, in their school, and start collecting inks to raise money. And hopefully we can take that total far beyond the £1 million.
Yeah, it's almost there. It's on the cusp.
Very close,
say, isn't it? So it literally is something that somebody listening to our little chat today now, if they just happen to be opening their inkjet printer and thinking, I need to do that, and they've got it in their hand now, they can really make a difference. It's one of those rare opportunities that the little man in the street doing a little bit of printing at home can genuinely do something. It's great, isn't it? Yeah.
That's it. I think, a lot of people think there's so much to do now with the environmental issues, and even with charities that are always under pressure to find new ways of raising money. And I think everybody kind of sometimes has that moment of, what difference can I make? And actually, you can. And again, like I say, this is a great way to be able to give and donate money without actually using money, without cash.
Absolutely.
It's something that would have otherwise ended up in the bin.
Wow. We're going to have a quick look after a pause for a break for some more music at your FAQs on your website. We want to point people in the direction of this because there's lots of information that people can look at, and I think because frequently asked questions are always a good way of saying, have we missed anything out? I'm sure we haven't, because we've covered an awful lot. But let's have, what have we got? Oh, new order, bizarre love triangle.
That's definitely Kieran O'Toole.
He's done no work this week, hasn't he?
If you can tell from the design and the music choice, I think you're getting a picture of this very eclectic character that we have in the...
he's just sat at his desk going, I'm not going to do any designing, I'm just going to listen to music and select this on behalf of everybody. Yeah, I know. Right, new order it is then. James, the future of this industry, is it something that worries you? I only ask because... is there ever going to be a time when we won't need printers anymore, and therefore the things that go inside them?
It's a good question. I think people have been asking the question about the paperless office for many years, and I think that all of the stats and the figures show that if anything we're going more into printing. There's more printers in the UK now than there ever has been. I think the sort of threat of moving away from that, I think people still need that tangible piece of paper, that printout that they use, but that threat is there. But as a company, we pride ourselves on being innovative and forward thinking. Certainly the future and the change actually inspires us and certainly encourages us to find new solutions rather than sort of being afraid. We do a lot of research and development. We work with Manchester University amongst others to research and look at how the new technologies are developing. Yes, there is a big pressure to move away from plastics. There's developments into bioplastics. There's even obviously the sort of 3D printing that's on the horizon that's already well established, but is certainly going to grow. And we're working very closely to monitor those technologies and be part of the future of those technologies in terms of the recycling element. You know, there's always going to be a need to print something, and as long as we can adapt and change with that, we're able to keep that recycling solution.
Plastic is people's friend if it's recycled correctly, I think is a bit of a mantra.
It is, and it's one that can raise a few eyebrows. I think at the moment we're all sort of through the media told that plastic is our enemy and we need to stop using plastic, but actually plastic has been developed for the reasons that it is a very useful material. It helps keep our food fresh, medicines safe, and all of these things. I think the misconception is plastic isn't bad. It's a very useful and very good material, provided it's recycled properly, and that's where we should really be focusing our efforts, is not necessarily replacing plastic, but actually making sure that if we do use plastic, we recycle it correctly. You know, the benefits of our solution is to be able to recycle this plastic rather than it going into landfill and those things.
Amazing. I did say we would look at some FAQs very quickly, so on your website, think-inks.uk, says here.
Think-inks.uk, that's us.
Think-inks, okay,
yeah,
that'll do nicely.
Yeah.
So, my inks haven't been collected. Oh, go on, that must be a frustration. Customer service.
Absolutely. We use third-party couriers, so we're in the hands of a UPS or a DHL or a DPD. And of course, there's always hiccups with that. But we tend to make a collection within 24 hours, 48 hours. And if there is a failed collection, we can always rearrange that and get that sorted. We even have a man in a van that can do some local collections as well. So
send Kieran out instead of his choice of choosing music.
When he's not picking music, he can be in the van.
What will it cost, all this, to get involved?
Absolutely nothing, and that's the key here. It costs absolutely nothing. We say just hop onto the website, request a box, we'll deliver the box straight to you, and you can start recycling inks. Once that box is full, we collect it free of charge, and then we'll give you the donation.
Wonderful. Which inks do you accept? We've said that all inks.
All inks, we'll accept all inks. Our first and foremost is that we recycle. We're good for the environment, and that's what we've got to do. If we're focusing on raising money, then we touched on it earlier about the original cartridges. They're slightly more valuable, particularly the HP and the Canon models. But fundamentally, we don't want to rule anybody out. Keep it simple, have the box on display, and recycle all ink cartridges. It's been absolutely illuminating, fantastic to meet you guys from Think Inks today. Thank you ever so much for joining us on the programme today. Pleasure to be here, thank you. It's something we all need to be responsible for, and indeed we are. Our guest next Saturday on Tommyfield Live will be the leader of Oldham Council, Councillor Arush Shah, and in the chair will be my colleague Gerald Briley from Ian Wolstenholme and James O'Connor from Think Inks. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now. It's Space Age love song from a flock of seagulls. Look out, dodge the seagulls.